crunch, bring it back, single leg swing. Let me teach you how to wrestle. Okay. Let me teach you how to wrestle. Hit the
Mindset Monday is brought to you by our official sponsors, Eat Clean, bro. Make sure you order today, get them delivered right to your house, check them out, and make sure you put in your discount code MINDSET. Welcome back. We're live. Good to see you.
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Good. All right, how you feeling?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm hoping to be out of this, well, not hoping. I'm told I'm going to be out of this in a couple of days, which is really exciting. So far, my progress has been really good. But, you just got to be patient and do what you got to do.
Yeah. I mean, just give some of your general thoughts where you're at now, and of course the World Team Trials just passed. Obviously Vito winning, that's awesome, and obviously bummer you couldn't compete, but more important, you look at that long term, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of what played into the decision. Like it wasn't urgent for me to get surgery. It's not like right now, you can't move, but it just the training was really difficult, and I knew I wasn't going to wrestle well. And it's one of those things, you almost have to have a 4-year plan, right? Where it's like, if my goal is to have a really good Olympic year in 28, it's like, what's going to set me up better? Having 4 months of kind of dealing with shoulder injuries. Maybe you get through this non-Olympic World Team Trials and then get surgery, miss the 25 World Team Trials and World Championships, or just, take care of this, get healthy, and then, hopefully you can put all good wrestling in front of you for the rest of the time. And that's kind of how it's tough. It's always tough, right? You're like, man, I'm giving up a chance to go to the World Championships, but you're doing it to give yourself a better chance in the future and, just having a better body for the rest of your career.
Yeah, and you've bounced back from injuries before and came back better than ever. What's I guess I wasn't even planning on going into this, but that'd be a good one. What are some of the things you've done to help yourself mentally and emotionally to keep yourself in a good headspace? Do you think about other people who've been hurt, or do you think about other people's careers, or how you're getting better at this time? What do you do?
For me, a lot of it is just kind of, this is the reality, right? It's like, my shoulder's hurt. I had to get surgery. Like that's over. It is what it is. I have to do it. So now it's just kind of thinking about, all right, like what can I do now to give myself, it's the same as training. It's like, what can I do right now to give myself the best chance to make all this work out? And whether that's, staying in the brace or doing my PT or even icing my shoulder a little more often just to help with the swelling, whatever it is, it's like, you just have to do whatever you can. And it's like, you got to crawl before you walk, before you run, so it's not always flashy and it's not always really glamorous or even something you're really excited to do, but you have to do it if you want to be successful.
Yeah. Is there anything you wind up like double downing on, or you put more into, where you say, okay, well now I'm going to work on this habit, or more time in on my video analysis or mindset or nutrition or rest and recovery? It's hard. Like, okay, nutrition, you don't have to get your weight down, but do you still think about that?
Yeah. I think for me, right, a lot of it is, I spent a lot of this time really thinking about kind of like the big picture of my wrestling, where it's like, all right, when I'm back, what do I need to be good at? I need to be really good at this, and this, right? And it's like, all right, kind of break it down to where, not like, at the end of the day, my coaches are telling me what to do, right? But I'm almost planning like, when I'm back, what are the skills I really need to work on? And then it's, going back and maybe I'm figuring that out through watching my matches. Maybe I'm reflecting on practices. I'm going and I'm still going to practice. I'm just watching now and I'm like, man, a lot of the guys do this wrong. I also do that wrong. Like maybe that's something I need to work on. Or the flip, like, hey, this guy did this really well. That's something I don't do well that is really important to have that skill. So I'm going to start building that, right? And you kind of think about, between that, the Olympics, the World Team Trials, there's a lot of things, and my own wrestling. There's a lot of things I can watch to be critical of my process of when I'm back and I have that, I'm drilling for a month and a half, then I'm going live and I'm kind of testing out, then I'm fully back. Like in that process, what can I really be working on while I'm drilling to make myself the most successful, so that, that first day I'm there, I'm not looking back at the coaches like, oh, I wonder what I should be doing right now. It's like I can hit the ground running.
Yes, exactly. And now, so you're still in the practice room most of the time, or some of the times?
I actually just finished running an individual for the guys, so I'm in the room, every day. Obviously, there was some time when I got hurt that you just can't be around because you're still kind of coming back from surgery. But I enjoy being in the room. It's refreshing for me. It's like I get out of the house. I'm doing something I really enjoy, and it's like a double good. Two birds, one stone. Where it's something I enjoy. It's just good for that like emotional side of like getting out and doing something you like to do, but also kind of toying with stuff in my head of like, oh, I saw that. That's good. Oh, I need to work on that, or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And what are your overall thoughts? The World Championships, the World Team Trials, were you surprised by anything? I mean, obviously we're excited Vito won.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I saw someone say it's like the 2015 World Team, but with Vito on it, and it was cool. I'm happy for how things went for Jordan Burroughs after kind of the whole Penn State thing. You can't help but kind of feel bad for him how that played out. So it's really cool to see. He kind of got, this may or may not be his last ever World Championship, and it's cool to see that he got to kind of, finish off in the right way, and you got to hope he does it at the Worlds. It was really cool to see Taylor come out of retirement and wrestle well, like James Green. Not like that was him coming out of retirement. He wrestled in the trials, but kind of back in the weight class he'd rather be at. So it was cool. It was a lot of guys that, I watched when I was a kid in high school, and coming back and doing it kind of just shows, it's hard to be competitive at that age. Not like they're so old, but you've been at it for a long time. And to still kind of be on top is a testament to how, good some of those guys are. And then, for Vito, he dealt with a lot of injuries, and I know it was really tough for him not being able to go to the trials, just kind of having to weigh out, like, am I even going to be able to wrestle with this stuff going on with my, my health versus like, my dream essentially. So seeing him get back and he's going to go back to the World Championships, and I'm really confident he's going to wrestle well, and seeing that was really, it just felt good, feel good for your friend.
Oh yeah, definitely. And how about any overview of Cornell wrestling coming up this year? Got to give a shout out to Coach Gray, Coach Pirelli, everyone, all the wrestlers.
Yeah, it's a different team, right? I mean, me and Vito have been on that team, on a Cornell team since 2017. So there's going to be a lot of young guys, a lot of new starters in the lineup, and I think I'm really excited. We have a lot of good young guys, a mix of guys who like, Meyer Shapiro and even like Julian Ramirez and Foco, who I guess aren't young guys anymore, but they were young guys when we were that are really good. But then, even my brother's going to hopefully compete well this year. Unger, Vince Cornella or Josh Saunders, kind of depending on how Vince recovers for his knee. But a lot of guys where, they're really good and maybe not necessarily younger, but just haven't like cracked through that. I think, with some good training are going to be able to do it this year. And I'm really excited to see it all come together at the end of the year, right? Between that and, there's going to be a couple new starters in the lineup. And whenever you have that, there's that kind of build as the year goes. And I do it like this because it's never straight up, so there's going to be parts where it's like, we're going to win the whole thing and we're doomed. And then we're, but the net trajectory is this way, which is always good.
Absolutely. And we got our mastermind coming up again during the season, December, January, February. You, Vito, or other athletes are going to be, guest coaches with us on, where we'll do that together for half hour, one night, each one of our guys. So, and you did that with us last year, right? Where you got to answer questions from the athletes. Talk about how important that is for a wrestler to be learning from the older guys, and not just technique, but learning from their experiences, their mindset. How invaluable that is, what you're able to contribute with that.
Yeah, I mean, especially in today's world, you can learn a lot of technique watching and studying because everything's videoed nowadays. But when you look at a lot of successful people, like, let's take Jordan Burroughs, right? I mean, he's one of the greatest American wrestlers of all time. And it's like he's hitting a double leg, he's hitting a single leg, he's hitting a go behind. It's not like it's this groundbreaking. There's something different about, his training, how his effort in matches, his, like, what I mean? There's something outside of the wrestling that makes him really special. And obviously he's an amazing wrestler, right? Like, he's got a great double leg. It's a great single leg. It's a great go behind.
The time is now to take your mindset to the next level with Wrestling Mindset. Make sure you go to our website, wrestlingmindset.com, and sign up for your free trial session today. Don't wait any longer. You want the mental edge right now. When you sign up for the free trial session, you're also going to get a copy of our free ebook, Building the Predator Mindset. This book has helped thousands of people build confidence, relax under pressure, get motivated, and build mental toughness in wrestling, school, and life. Make sure you sign up for your free trial session today.
But I just think when you look at a really successful individual, and even if you take this outside of wrestling, just in the world, like when I meet successful people, they're wired a little differently, and even though I'll talk to somebody, who's a Cornell alum that was a really successful surgeon, and they'll just say something about, kind of their path and how they figured out and how they were able to rise to the top in this really competitive field, which is what we're all trying to do, right? Rise to the top in a competitive field. And they'll just say something that makes you think a little bit, like, I wonder if I would have done. Would I do that? Would I be willing to do this? Or would I, like, let's talk about the surgeon, right? Would I be willing to put in 10 hours a day? I don't know. I hope I would. But it makes you ask the question. And then, the next time you're at practice, when you're like, man, this is hard, but it's like, I said I would be willing to do it, so I got to do it, And I think for a high school kid, that's a really cool thing to hear from somebody who's really successful in the thing that you're trying to succeed in. And they're going to, something to them that, like, I'm always really impressed by what successful people think is average. Where it's like, oh, you have to do this. Like, duh, bare minimum. And you're like, man, that's bare minimum. As a high school kid, like, I might not even be doing the bare minimum to this guy. And hearing that, I think, can really change your perspective and kind of push you in a different direction.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like I've heard high-level athletes saying, it's not called an extra workout. It's a mandatory workout if you want to be great. And it just makes you think, like, oh, wow, yeah, that's right. So they're not looking at it as necessarily just extra workouts, even though we all understand what that means, like doing something on top of the practice. But little things like that could go a long way. Has there been ever a wrestler that you looked up to when you were younger, you went to a camp, or you spoke to them and they said something that really had an impact on you to drive home that point, and like how this advice from high-level wrestlers still sticks?
What's funny? So this actually came from my dad, but he told me a story about John Smith. How John, like, people, there's all these stories about John Smith, right? He's kind of had this, like, legend around him, especially for me, right? But there's some story, every day after practice, John Smith could do 20 minutes of stance and motion without stopping. And his feet never stopped moving. And, and it wasn't like one guy told that story. Like, I heard it from Rob Cole, I heard it from this guy, I heard it from that guy, I heard it from a guy who wrestled in Oklahoma State who still saw him do it. And it's like, for me, hearing that, like, all right, John Smith did this, hearing Rob Cole, who's the coach at Cornell at the time, who also was a really good wrestler, be like, John Smith was one of the hardest working dudes I ever met. He did this and this, and you're like, man, it's not, it's the same thing where it's like, that was his average, had to do 20 minutes. You know what I mean? And it's like, man, can I even do 20 minutes of stance and motion? Like, when I heard that story, definitely not. Not good stance and motion, right? Not world champ kind of stuff. And then, over my life, I've been able to be around some really successful wrestlers, like, Kyle Dake and David Taylor and Burroughs, all those guys, right? And like I said, I'm always impressed by, like, what they think is average. Like, Kyle will come in the room and he'll, like, tombstone a guy for 20 minutes in a live go. It's like he slammed them on their head 100 times, got 500 gut wrenches. He'll come off the mat and be like, man, I messed up that single leg. And I didn't even really notice it because it still worked. But it's just like he's holding himself to that standard. And it's just the kind of, I'm rambling. You see the really successful guys that hold themselves to this really, really great standard. But to them, it's just like, it's average. It's just like, that's what I got to do. If I'm not doing that, then I'm just not even doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I've had a couple of those along the way that really changed my perspective on, like, what hard work is and how to work hard the right way and that kind of stuff.
I think that's a great insight because it's true. It's like you raise the bar, and that's why you ultimately want to be around these people and listen to their stories and be coached by them. Just put yourself around them. That's always said too. Like, listening to the interviews of the wrestlers. Like, yeah, I have my sports psychology master's degree. Great. I got the book knowledge, but I feel like a lot of what I learned too, of course, it's experiential when I was competing, but listening to guys like you and Vito, the guys who've come before, of course, what are they saying? And you're kind of putting the pieces together. Okay, here's the experiential knowledge, here's the book knowledge, and here's what the greats are saying. And it all kind of comes together then. So that's huge.
Yeah, and like I said, I've been lucky to be around a lot of that, and it's really cool to be able to kind of give that back to people.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Is there any time that you could think of? I know this probably happened many times, but you said something to a young kid. It doesn't have to be that young. It could have been high school or even someone on the team at Cornell that really you feel like it's stuck in their head, and they said, Yianni, that was really great. And it might have been something that surprised you, where I didn't realize that I even said that.
Yeah, I don't want to name names and whatever, but actually, not that long ago, I was talking to a kid on the team who kind of like that hard work thing where I was just explaining, hey, like you've worked pretty hard your whole life and done pretty well, but I'm sure you think you're working really hard. And I just said it, like I've seen a lot of really, really, really good wrestlers that would do a lot more than what you're doing and tell themselves that they're not doing that much. But it's hard. It's just hard to understand, because it's like, and this is what I said, it's you have been successful and you've done really good things and you have worked a lot harder than most of the people around you. But if you want to be at the tippity top, right, not like, a national qualifier, an All-American, you want to be a national champ, like you have to be the most devoted, the most committed guy, right? And you can pull stories of, well, this guy won and he did this, or this guy won and he did that. But it's like for every story of a guy who did that, there's 30 guys who worked their nuts off and won and did it because they worked their nuts off. And I'd like to think it really got through. He came up to me like the other day, actually was like, hey, like thanks for talking to me. I feel like it really changed how I look at it. But it's important, just kind of going off that, like that, having that perspective, like what actually it requires to be really successful. A lot of people don't always get because you've just never seen someone do it.
Right. And then the importance of leveling up by being around people who've been there. Like one of the questions we'll ask people, we have our mindset checklist where we'll assess their different, what's their confidence level, their ability to stay in the present moment, their mental toughness. And like we're already assuming wrestlers are mentally tough. I'm sure they're all mentally tough to some extent, otherwise you wouldn't be wrestling. But we'll ask the question, like, are you the most mentally tough person you've ever met? Like how could almost anyone answer yes to that question? Because the higher level you get, you're around even more mentally tough people.
Yeah, I'd argue you're an egomaniac if you said yes. It's like you have to be around some freaking tough dudes,
Right. But I asked the question, not so much the yes or no for that one, but what would you need to do to be the most hardworking person? Yeah. What would it have to get
Makes
the wheels
reflect.
Turning? Yeah,
exactly.
Are there any questions like that you might ask yourself that help you level up with your thinking, just in general?
Yeah, when I'm thinking back, even just like on a day-to-day basis, like, oh, how did I do today? A lot of times I think about like, did I actually do the most to get the most out of the day, right? Because the other thing that I think gets lost is it doesn't always have to be like tough, hard. Like sometimes it's like, was I the most focused I could have been at technique today? Or like when I was lifting, like did I get the most out of each rep, or am I kind of like half repping them just to get it done and put the weight back in? You know what I mean? Little stuff like that where, like a lot of my reflection is just like, did I get the most out of whatever I was doing today? And if it was conditioning, it's like, did I push myself as hard as I can? Did I wrestle with as much focus and effort as I could have? Did I learn as much as I could have at technique today? Was I as focused on all my reps when we were drilling at practice? Stuff like that. And even like now I help out with our gap year guys. I really try to preach it to them. Like, it's really easy to just kind of blend in with the middle of the pack and look like you're working hard, but the guys who are going to rise up and be the really successful ones are the ones who get the most out of everything. And that's why I think sometimes in college you'll see really, really good high school guys that don't always work out, or you'll see really, average high school guys that become great because like it's just the guys who are getting the most out of every workout. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. Unger and I were just talking about this the other day. Like sometimes putting in that with the word, we had a great conversation. We were saying that like getting the most out of yourself. Sometimes it means grinding it out, and other times it means slowing it way down and little technical points where you might not even be breaking a sweat.
Yeah.
So, like you said, it depends on what you need, which is why it's important to be around people who could kind of see your blind spots. Oh, you need a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that. And also, like you said, you being self-reflective, where what is it that I need? Where, like you said before about, your coaches will run the practice, but you also know you're not going in there blind. You're ready to hit the ground running because you have things in your head. So it's both.
Yeah, exactly. And being reflective is something that gets brought up a lot around here that I think is a really good thing to do. Like just getting into the practice of being like, did I do a good job today? And if not, how can I do a better job tomorrow?
Absolutely. It's great stuff, Yianni. Really appreciate it. Great talking, great catching up with you. We hope we hope you feel better and healing up, and we know you're going to come back stronger, better than ever. And we're excited to have you on the mastermind in this upcoming season.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I enjoyed it last year, and I'm excited to do it again.
Awesome. All right. Thanks a lot, Yianni.
Thank you. Bye.